Enjoyment in the fog. The fog looked dry, looked like a schemer had put the fog there the morning after a significant emotional resolution. The fog looked made from a machine. The fog here settled into the blocks and over the lots like foam. Early in the morning, the orange street lamps shined through the fog that many had thought looked like something. Bill Billingsley looked to the window of his apartment on floor 10, the top one. The fog looked like milk. He thought his mother might be outside. More likely, it was a mother and not his own. He did look outside, though, peering over the buildings to see if he was still able to see the roof of his workplace. Bill couldn't see past Coney Island, the hot dog spot. Many roofs appeared as if caught in a bowl of milk, the shingles of his workplace like honeycombs. He sat down and enjoyed a coffee that made his breath stink before he brushed his teeth. He looked at papers. A young lady with nappy hair braided was walking to school by the shops, and she reminded Bill to turn around, put on a collared shirt, and keep focused on a better future ahead built by such stylish young doers. When Bill looked outside next, the fog started to become more transparent. Bill felt optimistic. Few speculate weather is manipulated by a machine in Antarctica. We must sit and not respond to such ideas with shock, not be mind blown, but the main difference between a conspiracy theory and a conspiracy is a lack of government funding to investigate or experiment, said his friend Sancho as they spoke a few nights ago. He'd text him something stupid. Freedom came first for Bill and many in his building. So, at that time, hours before work, he was simply one of many tenants. Ecology is the study of organisms in an environment. If a building could speak for itself, it'd have a vast network of similes to choose from. Or, if it had legs, it could stand up, but where would the building like to walk? Bill would find out later that day that he got fired from Fallon. He didn't do the binders correctly at the clinic. He had rent money for November at least, and he would not put needless stress on himself, for he had gained strength from hard times in his early years. Some things in life just don't work out, a man at the clinic had mentioned. The next morning, fog came to Worcester again, though it was a brand new day for Billingsley. The fog was not so thick and looked more like smoke. The orange lights of the street lamps were off at the sun as the sun began to creep. There seemed to be less power used, and the neighborhood was in twilight. The night before, there were no fires, nor arbitrary fire alarms. Lila, a content creator in a situationship, had told her audience that the fire alarm quotas were to inspire stress that fed demons who waited outside buildings and cars with odd license plates. Bill enjoyed another cup of coffee, having gotten over that. He lit a candle. He would begin another job search. He had a couple years before he was going to move away, so he still had time to save money for that. He kept dreaming and paid attention to the mothers, sons, and daughters as he prioritized and remained aware of emotion. Bill let the fog clear. Like it depends on you, thought his non-biological sister walking. There was a wall of plywood outside the Delholme building, where strong people were doing new construction and measuring. Billingsley had a good, slow day. The cars drove slow. The people breathed slow. There were peak times of stress and excitement, especially after coffee. Around 3 p.m., when children got out of school, there was excitement. At sunset, there was, well, Bill could not say. Tenants waited in Bill's building with basic needs satisfied. Gratitude. Around 5:35 p.m., there came to him men who had, for a long time, not let it be tomorrow. They asked anyone on the higher floors, "Would you be our Pope?" From below, in a crowd, in other words, in a city outside of the Roman Empire, were they trying to tempt Bill to fall like them, to join in idle chatter and speak of facehook and fishhooks without specificity at all, as did the writer on the 8th floor? They never took the bull by the horns. Lord knows why they didn't look to the written texts of the old stories that literally had commandments. Holding their breath and putting their fingers in their ears and pouting, these men wanted members to their boring club. Bill found this odd. He did not know what this powwow had to do with manhood. After all, it was Hannah Arendt, born in 1906, who pointed out that the etymology of work and labor shows a contrast. A laborer lives a life of repetition and endlessness of the process itself, while work creates an object or something else outside of ourselves that will persist over time and leave an individual legacy to future generations. And that's from the Boston Globe, an article written by Algier and Zaretsky called "The Crucial Difference Between Labor and Work," published April 26, 2023. I know that not all people who get fired are informed by reading or are socially conscientious or caring, but I will say that if Sancho called Bill talking about aliens, Bill could help him find Earth again, and this was the age-old benefit of having a good friend, a reasonable man. That very day, Bill trusted the laborers were doing a good job reconstructing the Delholme building. The congregation, by the foundation, carried on with the word man among pig grunts and long sighs. He watched out for others. People in the waiting rooms of the UMass on Belmont Street, having to explain cancer to children, waited for home. Billingsley valued home. It was that one day when he could beat the idea that his progress would be like a train derailed because of others affecting his income now. When the night came, Bill made dinner and went to bed early, a day older. He calmed down and did not dream too far ahead. Day 3, there was fog and showers. The atmosphere was a vibrance of water. Bill took a shower while it showered rain outside. He undressed and got in the tub surrounded by white tiles and assorted red and black tiles. A cop was in a cruiser below his window on the street. Bill understood that through the walls there were copper pipes. He had a drawer of pennies, too. He kept quiet in his bathroom while his pussy waited outside the door on the bed. Bill became less in his own head, but took stock of the bones of his body and appreciated the water as an element. The water heated his body. He was like steam. Personas of other people that annoyed him were like steam, and he was himself, singular after a couple minutes. Billingsley recalled past lovers, the essence of gentle, innocent affairs, tied to his bones in compliant yarns, and he enjoyed the comfort of knowing women once loved him in innocence. Perhaps they still do. Brotherly. His skin was at a good temp. When Bill stepped out of the shower, he imagined there was a big black dog by his desk, but in reality, it was clothing over the back of his chair. He had an interview. He got on the bus, sat there with the different smells of his neighbors. Then he went to the place where the logos on the outside of the building looked ambiguous. He went to the business door. The boss was absent. The interview was rescheduled. Billingsley could get upset, or he could not. Day 3, walking back home in the rain, off the clock, he paused to talk to a man under a yellow poncho who wanted apple juice. Then he went home. Bill came to the Franklin building by foot, then went up the elevator, then across the 10th floor hallway. Then he went through his door and inside his rooms. In his living room, he sat there with the smoke and candle and did not move. He did not move, and he did not eat, and then he decided to eat. The school buses were getting out, and he knew the dream stealers who would say the boys of a local bicycle gang would never get to visit Notre Dame in Paris would be about, so he got up and looked out his window, ready with a death stare. He was a scary one to those who might have earned eternal damnation, for Christ walks the earth, and Bill knew it, so he sat and waited like a pointer. There would be time to earn money, and he had rent that month. Responsible. Sick militant men and the ones who fed delusion to make up for their inbred, gnome-like appearance returned to congregate below the windows, for they finally realized the extent of their corruption and harassment and what it meant to owe Lockheed Martin. Police codes needed serious work to maintain the forthcoming peace. Later on, Billingsley went for a health run and mocked those in the monster trucks, causing others nervousness on the roads. For a stronger man is the one who can control his drives, and Bill knows yoga poses. Angels let him bend over on the ground securely in nature, no strings attached. No bras either, perhaps. That was unimportant. Bill fue como un jefe. He knew it was key to patrol at sunset on Fridays, for Fridays could be a terrible day of temptation. A policeman had an ether Bible outside the station by the boulevard. Inside the police station, the exorcisms were the most intense. That Saturday, Bill was in a fresh day, aware that what was he laboring in his spirit would be a lovely and formidable contribution to the right company. He was not just complaining, but doing, like a wordsmith. He saw happy people and liked that the most. Discipline would change the weather.